Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
Честью и гордостью нести высокое звание юноармейца. Клянусь, клянусь, клянусь!
What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here. And early last week, something came across the writer's desk. Okay, we have a little writer's room, a little chat room, and we put things in there so that we can say, hey, this looks good, this looks crazy. Did you see this? One of these was a story about Russia. And it was from, I guess you'd call the expatriate of Russia. Still has the accent. You know, he's pretty much, you can tell he has destroyed all of the Z propaganda that has been pumped into his head as a kid and is trying to do the same with others. That's not the important part. The important part is the kids in Russia and their indoctrination. The fact that there's always going to be a war. The war is to be expected and you should be willing to be in it. Another part is how the West is horrible. How they're indoctrinating their kids to be gay, transgender, furries. And if they don't, they get executed. Something like that. Hyperbole? Maybe. Listen to this, though.
The Putin supporting Z Russians will still worry way more about the indoctrination that is going on in the West, where they teach every single kid to be trans and gay or whatever, right?
У них 85 полов вместо мужского и женского. У них публичные дома для зоофилов. Они узаконили педофилию. Они теперь в стадии рассмотрения закон о признании нормы инцеста. Ребенок, например, в ЕС в 3 года должен выбрать себе пол. Если ребенок себе пол в 3 года не выберет, значит ребенка из семьи ювенальная юстиция изымает и отдает их в семьи гомосексуалистов.
Yeah, guys, I cannot believe you Westerners are putting up with your children being brainwashed like this. But yeah, a lot of Z Russians genuinely think that this is what's happening in Europe, and at the same time, they don't care whatsoever about the indoctrination that is happening in Russia.
Now, before we get into the obvious parallels, that sounds like anybody, anywhere in a red state right about now. I'm sorry, they live here. And they're getting that indoctrination. And then we're wondering, well, where does this come from? How are they so good at indoctrination? This story should help us understand exactly how we got here, or more accurately, where we're going, starting with the original story, Russia. Take a look at this.
Честью и гордостью нести высокое звание юноармейца. Клянусь, клянусь, клянусь!
Raising a child in modern Russia can be pretty scary. Quite some time ago on this channel, I already talked about Russia's new mandatory propaganda lessons in school, where they brainwash Russian children about the importance of Russia's war in Ukraine. They teach children that Russia has never done anything wrong in its entire history, and also, they lecture children as young as 8 years old about how important it is to be a patriot, and also to be able to give your life to the motherland in case it needs it. The happiness of the motherland is worth more than a life. It's not scary to for your motherland. To love one's motherland is to serve one's motherland. Sounds like a very normal country, am I right? And just in case you guys think this is normal and it's not bad enough, in today's video we're going to be talking about something that is a lot worse. And that is the brainwashing military institution known as Russia's Young Army Movement, which is a movement for children from the ages of 8 to 16 that is meant to create future soldiers for Russia. They even have a video with World War II veterans and so on. and like singing songs commemorating the war for the veterans and so on, right? Although all of it is sick and twisted, by the way, because the whole point here is to say that the victory in World War II and the fight against Nazi Germany in World War II is the same fight that Russia is currently having against the Ukrainian Nazis. So they're basically using the memory of World War II for something very sinister here, to promote the war that's currently happening.
Now that's just a few clips from this guy. He has more of a humorous take on it, more of a satirical take on it, but he does reference a BBC documentary that's quite a bit more somber. In that one of the children says this.
Я в будущем как бы получу диплом юриста, но все равно пойду дальше получать высшее образование по специальности военный корреспондент. За всю историю России у нас она не воевала всего 300 лет. То есть все равно какие-то боевые конфликты у нас будут.
С кем?
Ну, возможно, и с Западом. Вот США они никогда не успокаиваются, поэтому вот сейчас начинаются на Израиле боевые конфликты, то есть все равно что-то будет.
A quote from Vladimir Putin says, Bismarck said wars are not won by generals, but by school teachers and priests. That is absolutely true. It's about developing a spirit of patriotism in the young. We are already moving in this direction, end quote. So it turns out the Z propaganda that the Russian state encourages isn't the only thing to worry about. They now have a 1.7 million strong youth army in over 89 Russian regions, starting from the age of 8, going all the way to 18. Russian children are already subject to new lessons promoting the importance of their motherland and how vital it is to free Ukraine from Nazism. Yeah, and that Ukrainian Nazism. If you listen to the adults in the room teaching these children about how important it is for them to go die for Putin, that's what it is. Because they're the first ones to be on the front lines. When you listen to what they say and hear the absurdity of it.
Revealing.
Мы уверены, мы убеждены, что мы взрослые. Сегодня, когда над нами опять вновь фашизм, мы победим. Но главное впереди. Вот эту победу удержать. И поэтому право и возможность будет именно у вас. И то, что вы сегодня здесь, вместе с нами, это здорово.
Wow guys, what a woke Russian soldier. He's talking about the looming threat of fascism that is over Russia. He's clearly gotta be talking about the militarization and the xenophobia and so on that is rampant in society right now, right? He's definitely talking about the Russian government and Vladimir Putin, right? No guys, he's not. He's talking about fighting the Nazis in Ukraine, obviously. Because there is zero fascism in Russia. Absolutely zero, guys, of course, yeah.
Isn't it funny that fascists always call everything else fascist? Isn't it funny that fascists, while living in a fascist state, still have an easy time convincing everyone else that everyone else is the Nazi? Well, you can do that when you start at 8. You can do that when you call Lenin grandpa. That's what they call him. They sing songs about him.
Если бы не мой дед, не его побед свет, то какой бы знали б мы страну, мы б ее не знали. Если бы не мой дед, не его мечты след, мы с тобой под солнцем этих лет даже не мечтали.
This is funded by the Russian government through its Ministry of Defense. It was established in 2015 at the behest of General Sergei Shoigu. It's under the General Staff in Moscow and has a regional municipal headquarters and the detachments in every single school. Every school. I just need you to understand, if you remember, not that long ago, they started to float the idea, they meaning the devils on the right side of our politics today. We're floating the idea that every kid needs to be given an ASVAB test. That's the one where it decides your best placement in the military, if you can make it in the military. Studying for the ASVAB test, just like you study for the SATs. Now put a pin in that. Put a pin in that as you think about these parallels. let's talk about this. What are the goals? What are the goals of this youth cadet corps that they've got going on over there in the motherland with Grandpa Lenin and that? 1, improve state policy in the education of the younger generation to help instill moral values and guidelines. To create a favorable environment to develop child and teen personalities, and of course, lessons in military history and how to be a good patriot. It's basically like the Young Pioneers or the Soviet Komsomol, which existed during the USSR days. RTEC, which was the biggest young pioneer youth camp, which now basically is the youth army, or so they call it. Not only is Russia indoctrinating the children, people, but also training them in firearms use, first aid, pathfinding, ceremonial duties, historical reenactments. They didn't sound eerily familiar yet. Martial arts and marching band activities. And of course, they all march on Victory Day. Russian children are being taught that war in the future is inevitable. I showed you that. Maybe with America, or just the West in general. It's quite a frightening thought that the 8-year-old could disassemble, then reassemble a weapon while wearing a military-like uniform. It's surreal seeing Russian children wholeheartedly convinced that a war with the West is coming in the future and winnable. And like all fascist states, the coming war, the just ending war, and the current war is the politics. There's nothing else. You can't talk about the robber barons. You can't talk about the industry that are all owned by the people and the cabinet members. You can't talk about education that's all run by a single state arm for the purposes of patriotism, not history, not world history, that's for sure. Mathematics for the state, language arts for the state, media education for the state. You can't do any of that. You talk about morals, the good old-fashioned morals. Then they're only moral if it leads to the state. And the only way to keep that as your only politics, there has to be something you're always fighting against. Because it's your state versus who? There's a coming war. Of course there's going to be a war. Will war ever end? I mean, would that be a good thing? I'm not even sure if it would be. You get the sense in the kids' minds that if you were to ask them, well, what about if war ended? They would say, I'm not sure how I like that. Isn't there always a war coming? In July 2022, the EU put the entire Youth Cadet Corps under sanction for allegedly fighting in the Ukraine. So Russia is sending teenagers to the front lines, but it's all for the love of the motherland, even if it's not your motherland. This article describes how Ukraine's children in occupied areas are also being encouraged to join. Now let's take a look at the military history that they're being taught over there. This is indeed questionable at best as it comes to the Western allies. Who won World War II, that kind of thing. I mean, sure, like all countries, you're going to learn songs about patriotism, the Russian bravery, and the more patriotic ones about the blood of the fathers. We have them here. When those are your only songs, though. It reminds me of something that, 4-foot-tall MAGA Moses grinder Mike Johnson said, talking about Bad Bunny hit the Super Bowl. He'd rather Lee Greenwood, the 80-year-old, who's still proud to be an American. Yeah, those types of songs. It's the difference of learning those songs as a kid and those being your only songs. There's no Bad Bunny in Russia. I'd say that's a bad thing. Yeah, you see, in the beginning of the story, when you first see the guy laughing, you know this isn't normal. Somewhere deep down you said, at least that could never happen in America. And almost immediately, you're reminded, we're already pretty damn close. Take a look at the Oklahoma Project 2025 indoctrination. Oklahoma. Not Not you don't got to give.
We're excited to announce a new office here in the Oklahoma State Department of Education. That will be the Office of Religious Liberty and Patriotism. For too long in this country, we've seen the radical left attack individuals' religious liberty in our schools. We will not tolerate that in Oklahoma. Your religious liberties will be protected. We've also seen patriotism mocked and a hatred for this country pushed by woke teachers' unions. We will not tolerate that in any school in Oklahoma. We want our students to be patriotic. We want our students to love this country. And we want all students' religious liberty to be protected. I will now say a prayer. And to be clear, students, you don't have to join. But if you so wish, I'm going to go ahead and pray.
If indoctrination is the litmus test, YouTube, I say that sucks all the litmus right out of the classroom. I'm not sure how much more weapons training our schools can have, considering most of them are still working on active shooter drills instead, because weapons are more important than kids at this point already. But other than that, if the goal is to tell you that God bless America and no place else, which was a comedy line from a movie back in the day, when that becomes what your only education is, how to be patriotic. Just because we can't have the guns training because we're still learning how to duck from them here, it only leads to one conclusion. America has to be infallible.
They teach children that Russia has never done anything wrong in its entire history, and also, they lecture children as young as 8 years old about how important it is to be a patriot.
They teach children that Russia has never done anything wrong in its entire history.
It has to be infallible. It can never be wrong. In order to say that you're the most religious and the most patriotic, it means that anytime you mention any of the faults that you've done, which is real patriotism, by the way, learning about the faults so you can grow from them, learning about the mistakes so you can learn from them. That doesn't exist in a cartoonized, Grandpa Leninized education system, which is what they want in Oklahoma and every other red state especially, and written in black and white in Project 2025. The next best thing, the next logical step, the conclusion ends up being PragerU is now your new academic litmus test. PragerU is now your new academic standard, America. So, what is PragerU and what does it have to do with the schools? It's just a social media platform, right? No, not anymore. Now your child could be learning direct from their distortions, not just history, but also things like climate change. Spoiler alert, they're not that into it. Things like slavery. Oh, not that bad. That's their stance.
As whitewashers of American history is because we have covered Christopher Columbus honestly. And so on the PragerU side, we made a clip for 3rd through 5th graders. It's a short 10-minute video that gives the biography of Christopher Columbus from the perspective that a child should be able to watch, right? And Christopher Columbus says that in his way that he thinks that slavery is okay. And it is very likely that if you traveled back in time and you asked Christopher Columbus, how do you feel about slavery? He would not have said, I think it's abhorrent and I'm still doing it, right? He would have probably said that he thought it was okay. We then have the kids who are the PragerU representatives push back against Christopher Columbus and say, we believe that slavery is abhorrent and it's evil. And then he responds, oh, magnifico, a great thing. Okay, things are different times. What the media liars do is they take the clip of just Christopher Columbus saying that he thinks that slavery is okay, and then they say that PragerU is whitewashing history.
I got it. We were just misinterpreting. We cut it up to fit our narrative. They were trying to push back, and that was the point of the story. Oh, well, let's just see. Let's see. I'm just going to show it here, and I won't do any cuts, I promise.
The place I discovered was beautiful, but it wasn't exactly a paradise of civilization, and the native people were far from peaceful.
But you just said the Taino were peaceful.
They pretty much are, but there are other tribes who aren't. The Taino I had met had cuts and scars and bruises all over them. I asked why, and they told me about the Caribs, who are vicious, warring cannibals.
Cannibals? Like they
eat people, see.
Whoa.
Right? Hey, all the things that are bad in the world I come from, jealousy, lying, murder, war, it all exists in a land I just found too. But in Europe, we draw the line at things like eating people and human sacrifice. Some of the native folks from where I just left do those things regularly. So, these people in your time who think it was a peaceful paradise are misinformed. Or lying.
Yeah, but what about slavery? You didn't deny that.
Deny? No. Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? I don't see the problem.
Well, in our time, we view slavery as being evil and terrible.
Ah, magnifico. That's wonderful. I'm lucky humanity has reached such a time. But you said you're from 500 years in the future? How can you come here to the 15th century and judge me by your standards from the 21st century? For those in the future to look back and do this is, well, estúpido.
Are you calling me dumb?
Certainly not. I can tell you're a very smart young lady. But the idea of throwing away the past because of your present values is... Listen, I love and am thankful for the ancient Greeks, but they did lots of things that here in 1493 I do not agree with. They permitted lifestyles and worship gods that, as a Christian, I think is very bad. But that doesn't mean I should respect and honor all the incredible and amazing things they did.
So good has some tiny win?
That is a great question. I told you I knew you were smart. Some things are clearly bad, no matter when they happen. But for other things, before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal? Not everyone can time travel as you do and see how normal becomes very not normal.
The pushback was the point there, huh?
Now listen, it's fine to have a healthy debate amongst Americans, national debate on opinions, but that's just the thing. You can debate opinions, not facts. PragerU has none. PragerU is not a university. It holds no educational accreditation, and yet school boards are using it to teach American children, literally, in the classroom, online. In the classroom, online, and even if you're not doing online education with the school board or with the state, right? You're a homeschooler. They got something just for you too. And they expect you to go past the SAT with that shit and then try to get into college. They don't want you there either. They would much rather you in the Soviet-style youth military program. What you need all that fancy book learning for? What you need to know is the 10 Commandments, how to be a good American soldier, and find your butt over there in Venezuela on somebody's fishing boat, without question. Oh, and all the extra generals and all the not extra, important generals have all left. They're jumping ship. Excuse the pun. They're leaving if they're not getting fired. When Putin said, you don't win battles with generals, but with school teachers and priests, this is what he meant. It's a forever war. The people that have institutional knowledge, training, experience, gone. Instead, PragerU graduates, empty vessels willing to be filled with the next nonsense and propaganda, unquestioning drones sent to their death while the oligarchs make money off of every bullet. That's where we're headed. That's exactly what they wanted. Oh, that's going too far. You don't think so? Well, no, you guys do. You're smart. MAGA people who are here by accident and just so happen to still be watching because they love the Russia part so much. Before you click away, yeah, that's exactly what they want. Let's find out who's funding PragerU. Oh, pro-conservative and pro-capitalist donations fund its content, people. That's it. Early funding came from the fracking billionaire brothers, Dan and Ferris Wilks. Members of the Wilks family also sit in PragerU's board. Lind and Harry Foundation, Fidelity Charity Gift Fund, Donors Trust, National Christian Foundation, and the Dick and Betsy DeVos Foundation are all large contributors promoting PragerU's deliberate misinformation to its audience. That's kids. Yeah. So that they can keep making money while spilling your kids' blood. That's the business model. That's the Russian model. That's the authoritarian model. That's why you don't want education. That's why you want to burn library books. That's why you indoctrinate the kids in Russia at 8 so that they can feel proud to die at 18 fighting a nebulous West that's jailing kids for not turning furry fast enough. And you believe that? Yes. When PragerU is your education system, you do believe that. That's why half the fucking country right now believes that, and they live here. Never seen it, never been to a hospital where it happened, but they believe it. Because they have been homeschooled to death and were told by Rick Santorum that when Barack Obama said, I want all kids to get higher education, to go to college, what a snob was his words. And like fucking white seals, all the people in the crowd said, yeah, I want to be toothless, dumb, stupid, preyed upon by the rich who go to Harvard because college ain't for me. War is for me. Praising Trump, that's for me. Praising the oligarchs who frack to fucking all hell. Give them my oil and my money, and then I'll coal roll. I'll pay money so my truck can produce more bullshit out the back, so I can own the libs and kill myself in the meantime, because that's all I'm worth. Thank you, Daddy Trump and Grandpa Lenin. Feed me more of that, so I don't have to think. Who do you think is in college? Who do you think is in Harvard and Yale? Why is everybody in Congress Harvard and Yale graduates? But every single one of them on the right wing are telling you college is not for you. PragerU is for you. Learn how to be a good patriot. Fuck that slavery shit. It never was that bad. Don't learn about the history so you can correct it. Don't be a questioning, intelligent person. Just be an empty vessel and read more of the book written 2,000 fucking years ago. Not that it's not important to read, but it's not the only book to read to be a well-rounded citizen instead of a drone for an authoritarian kleptocracy, an oligarchical nightmare. Welcome to Russia. Because when this came across my desk and I was looking at it, we were watching it, my first response was, sounds a lot like America to me. That should scare us all. We want to learn how to combat this. I'm trying. I like some teachers. I like educators. If you know anything about anything, Jesus Christ, hit me up. I'm trying to start something where kids can learn. Adults too. Politics, history, social rights, media literacy, media engineering, social engineering, medicine, spirituality. I don't care. If you know something academically and not PragerU shit, hit me up. I want to start something. I want to give something to the kids that will, for the next foreseeable future, not have anything to learn but PragerU. Hit me up. I want to start it. I've been trying. The very few times that people say they're going to do something, they've happened to drop out of no fault of their own. But it's also necessary, so I'm not giving up. Do you know something? Do you have an accreditation? Do you have experience? Do you have a history, a knowledge, other than war fighting? That's also important. But if you have any of these skills, hit me up. I have the platform. Some may cost, some might be free. I like to give it all for free, or at least offer the class. One kid at a time. That's how tomorrow we fight. Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind, the kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.